All right, so this is our real thoughts on The Last Airbender.
I don't wanna. It hurts.
We must take on the Shyamalan.
Our real thoughts, I think, match the review pretty well.
Well, and mine aren't quite as like angry. I think because I knew going in it was gonna be bad. Unlike the crowd going in who thought like, this is not quite at the point where Shyamalan was the kiss of death. His films were getting bad, but it's like
I think Avatar was the kiss of death.
It really kind of was.
That was the final straw.
Yeah, because now not only has he made something bad, but it destroyed something that made so many people. That it destroyed the possibility for an even bigger franchise. Like a movie franchise. But that kind of gets to the other thing about the film too. Maybe why it didn't anger me as much. It's still terrible, but
there's no emotions to have because it's that bland.
Well, no, it's just it's a dumb idea to make a film based on the first season of something. I mean, fucking anything really. Because you're not gonna be able to fit everything. You're gonna piss off people. You have to shove in so much stuff.
You would have had to have done 6 movies total and do probably 2 films per season. You may have been able to condense season 2 down to 1 movie.
I mean, there's definitely like filler episodes.
Depending on how much you just want to suck out of the Earth Kingdom stuff.
Yeah. Now don't get me wrong. That's not the only thing wrong with the film. But I would kind of argue that is like just from the initial idea of it.
Even if Shyamalan didn't suck, you're right. It would have been almost doomed from the start because you're trying to do that.
I don't know how the hell
you would have had to have literally you would have had to have the world's best screenwriter. I mean, somebody so brilliant that they're like, I know exactly what to keep, what to cut, and how to make this work.
And how to make people happy.
Yeah. You would have had to have Peter Jackson circa Fellowship of the Ring. That Peter Jackson, not Hobbit Peter Jackson, but that Peter Jackson from Fellowship of the Ring, where it's like he knew just enough, and then you could have done like an extended edition on DVD. And I think that's almost what they were looking at. They were trying to almost think like, can we do like a Lord of the Rings thing with this series?
Could be, although
because it had that feel to it, like fantasy world kind of.
Yeah, this was about the time they started to come out, right? The Lord of the Rings movies or whatever.
Well, this would have been after this. We would have been maybe.
Yeah, I guess it's not that old.
4 years after Return of the King.
Okay, so
maybe longer.
It would kind of make sense.
Yeah. Let me do it this way: we still would have been, I think, in Harry Potter mode. Mm-hmm. Which itself was also kind of like Lord of the Rings. That whole fantasy thing I feel like that's slowly dying out. It's now all Hunger Games and Twilight related, but...
But yeah, so I mean the things wrong with it are pretty obvious.
Everything.
I mean it is
I'm trying to think of one thing it did well.
I actually do kind of like the addition, one of the few additions of him not bowing back, and that's sort of the final thing at the end that he finally can do. It's him accepting the role as the Avatar. I thought that was a decent enough visual to show, okay, he's accepting this, and it's not talking because there's enough of.
Are you talking about
that.
The very last shot where he's all sad looking and?
Well, I mean, not that it was necessarily done well, but I like the idea that this is how he accepts it.
That drove me nuts because Aang slowly accepts responsibility and has this, but. Man, there was no sense of fun. That look on his face, it's like I was like, I think he just watched his puppy get shot. And I was like, yeah, I certainly want to see the sequel with that was not fun at all.
That poor girl who was playing Azula, she was just hyped watching the show, I'm gonna be the main villain, such a juicy role, then nothing happens, but that was probably the best thing that could have happened to you, honestly.
Yeah.
Because if anyone that falls under Shyamalan's direction is just you're dull and done.
He really is, now that Lucas is out of the game, he really is our modern day, George Lucas still.
I was gonna say kind of like the new. I don't want to say new Wachowski brothers. Wachowski brothers had good ideas, but it is kind of the same thing where it's just it's not only being really dull, but it's really thinking you're saying very important, major stuff that nobody's ever thought of, and that kind of stuff drives me nuts. When
I know you're just like, the Matrix, the acting sucks. I'm sorry, if I put the Matrix up against Last Airbender...
Oh, no, man. I'm talking about Jupiter Ascending,
but even then, at least from what I've heard, like, it's so goofy kind of bad.
Yeah, like it's so crazy. No, that's why I can't quite compare him to that, because like Wachowski still have interesting ideas where Shyamalan really has no ideas.
But yeah, I've just never seen a director, like... It's not just the fact that the acting is bad, because that is always Lucas's problem. The acting is just bad. It's hokey. He can't direct any actor out of a paper bag unless they're British, in which case they just
they're always
seem to know.
Brits are good actors.
Yeah, apparently Brits seem to know naturally how to just act without direction. But it's not just the fact that it's bad, it's that it's so soulless. There is no feeling, no emotion. I know people are just like, oh, well, Anakin, like, he says that. Yeah, but there's even more emotion in, like, Anakin. Like, it's over the top. Like, it's Obi-Wan, back. At least it's whiny. Like, there's an action. At least it's whiny. At least
you
there's
gotta
an
be
emotion.
coming from a very low place if you say, at least it's whiny.
At least it's whiny. Like, when I remember watching Last Airbender, I'm like, no one has human emotions in a Shyamalan film. They all talk, and that is a problem with the Wachowskis, but the Wachowskis somehow just do it better. Not great,
You know what
better.
you were talking about, is there anything that's actually good and stuff? I forgot that the kid that played Zuko... And,
he was good, but that's the Slumdog Millionaire kid. Like he damn well better be. He's the only one that came out of it.
And Iroh were okay. Zuko and Iroh were okay.
So basically, the two characters that you would have to work extra hard to destroy are okay.
Pretty much.
Like, I mean, those two characters, if you're writing a screenplay based on this, those characters write themselves.
They look totally different, kind of in many respects even act totally different. Yeah. But they still come out as, okay, you felt a connection between the two.
Knowing how much that Shyamalan, what do we call it, Shyamalizes it?
Yeah.
You've been Shyamalized. Knowing how much he does that, can you imagine how great Iroh and Zuko would have been had someone else directed it? Yeah, because, that shows you that they are a cut above the rest of the normal actors who probably would have just given normal performances. Mm-hmm. It would have been amazing.
There was just for shits and giggles, we took a look at the deleted scenes after watching the movie, and there was a scene that it was a stupid scene, but at least it was trying to get in some comedy, where he goes to this fortune teller, and, the fortune teller is obviously faking and then at some point gets really possessed or something like that. And there's one scene where that kid, she's faking being a fortune teller, like she's being possessed, and the one scene where Aang just kind of goes like that, and I was like, you got it, that was Aang.
That was Aang,
that
right
was
there,
something
yeah.
Aang would do. But that
it almost looked like the little animation.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to see like a little squiggle, like
yeah, no, like that actually legitimately felt like Aang. But yeah, I can't think of like any of the other characters that
the two leads. I feel bad because if you star in a Shyamalan movie, you're either signing your career away or basically opening yourself to being called terrible, particularly if you're new. And it's hard to tell if it's on them or Shyamalan because he sucks the life out of good actors. So I can't.
Wahlberg's a decent actor, and you see him in The Happening, like, what the hell did he do to him?
But those two, the Katara and why am I blanking? Sokka. Yeah, Katara and...
Or Ahsoka, I'm sorry.
Yeah. The two of them are just so bad that I feel bad. It's embarrassing. It's like watching somebody fail on stage. Like you're watching like a school play and you've got that kid that's terrible. And you just feel bad for them and they're hoping nobody records it. But now this is forever, on DVD. Like... And I can't, 100% tell if they're just truly that awful. They're just bad actors, or if just without any sort of direction from Shyamalan or bad direction, they were just made to be that bad.
Yeah, we've seen good actors, both from Shyamalan and Lucas and stuff, that gone on and done fine stuff.
But it is Anakin, it is Hayden Christensen bad. It is an epic bad. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember watching it and just, her reading her lines. But
it's hard to make those lines sound natural as well.
No, and that's true. And that's true. So it's like... I don't know. Like, if they're actually decent actors, then I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry you had the misfortune of getting stuck in this film.
Well, there's
which brings up a good point. You know, there was all the talk about, you know, sort of whitewashing, and now they got a couple of white actors to play. I will say this, that may have been the greatest thing to ever happen to Asian actors ever, because any Asian actors that ended up in that film in the role of Qatar, that we would have never seen them again. Like, it would have destroyed their careers, so thank you, Shyamalan, for saving, you know, some Asian actors the grief.
Well, and I guess we should probably bring up, too, that there was talk about why the movie was not good. Why, at least, the choices of the race was made. From what we've heard, apparently, like, the girl playing Katara, like, was kind of shoehorned in because she was, like, the daughter of, like, some sort of powerful person in Hollywood, but she's...
You could have gone with studio executive or producers, like some sort of powerful person.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Emperor.
I legitimately cannot remember who, but you know,
I heard that rumor
somebody,
as well.
You know, or some sort of family member kind of shoehorned her in and said she's going to be in this movie. Well, she needs a brother. If she's white, brother's got to be white. Okay, so they're white.
That means grandma has to be white.
Yeah, so, and then they sort of said, well, but we can't just make them all kind of white. We have to diversify it a bit, so let's just make, you know, the Fire Nation the darker skin, which is like, oops. That didn't exactly help things. But that at least explains a little bit.
Well, to be fair, though, a lot of them are Indian actors, so what are you going to be like, Shyamalan hates himself?
Yeah, well, that was kind of... Well, no, that was the one big concern. It's like, you know, did Shyamalan even sell out his own race or whatever? But I don't know. I was never quite ready to believe that.
I didn't find... Strangely enough, I didn't find the casting so much racist. Like... Because most of the Fire Nation are the quote-unquote bad guys, but really, by the end of the series, it's just, you know, the Fire Lord. I mean, everybody else is simply following orders, and the two sympathetic characters
well, I mean,
are
there's
Iroh
some
and
baddies,
Zuko.
but yeah, I mean, it's still
Iroh
nations,
and
you know,
and they're really juicy roles. Like, I would almost argue the opposite, that, like, I think Shyamalan may have realized that the juiciest roles in this are the villains. You know, maybe he was trying to cut the Indian actors a favor by I don't know.
So, yeah, I mean, I didn't, me personally, I didn't immediately think, like, racist or whatever.
I did think horrible miscasting, because, I'll tell you why. If you wanted to put white actors in, that's fine. Could have made the Earth Kingdom white, the Fire Nation, the Airbenders, you know. There's something about an Inuit culture, like Eskimo sort of culture, that I'm like,
look right. Well, it's because the rest of them were kind of like,
and I'm not talking about it like, well, Scandinavians are white. That's fine, but they're living at the poles. This doesn't make sense.
They literally have like the Eskimo, you know, garb and everything.
And I guess you go, fantasy, whatever. But I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, especially because everyone else looks Inuit and stuff. I mean, they look like
if it's racist, it could have been way more racist. Like that's the thing. Like
it could have been North.
Yeah, I found it more. I guess here's my thing. I found it more incompetence than racism. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost like they were so innocent in that they didn't think anybody would be like, no, really, like you're racist for doing. Like,
that's a good way of putting it. I think it's
more ignorance and incompetence to me than like
Shyamalan
seriously being like, no, as an Indian actor, I'm gonna be totally racist against my own kind, and then cast the Inuits as white people. Like I don't see a conspiracy.
Yeah, he's many things. He's probably not that. So. Yeah, I'm trying to think even what else. A lot of people really hated the effects. I don't think they're good. I didn't quite think they were the worst. Like, I thought Appa looked okay. I mean, he looked like the cartoon.
It struck me as something that a middle-of-the-road Nickelodeon movie would throw out.
Yeah, kind of.
Which is the whole movie. Like, I think it should have been like Lord of the Rings or something, really high class. And instead we got, like, you know, one of those middle-of-the-road fantasy, like, Harry Potter knockoffs instead.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's like, they weren't the worst. We've seen far worse effects.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
But well, this is all we do is watch bad movies, so.
Yeah, they're not very good. But no, the only other thing I'll say is that I think probably, if I had to guess, like, the biggest sort of fault of Shyamalan is that I think a lot of directors used to fall in this trap more. I don't see it as much, but they focus much more on making their directing unique rather than their film unique. They want to make sure that you're noticing that they're doing something different or that they have a style. Look at my style. And I get that. I get why a lot of directors do that because there are so many and you want to stand out and be unique and have your vision. A lot of people want to be the next Kubrick or Burton. They all have their distinct styles. But yeah, I think now there was sort of a point for a while, especially like in the late 90s and early 2000s, where just everyone was trying to have their artistic vision on screen, and it was just all gelling together and looking ridiculous.
Well, in Shyamalan's case, particularly with Avatar, the biggest, you know what the biggest sin for me is? It's not sucking the life out of it. It's not sucking, we all know these as Shyamalan tropes. It was the lack of color in a show that was so, I mean, for what Nickelodeon had to work with, we can look at Korra and be like, oh, the animation is really, you know, they stepped it up a number of notches. But for what they had to work with, like the original Avatar on Nickelodeon, stunningly gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful color show. Like, the colors on that show were amazing.
It still looks good. It's
still
lower budget to Korra
yeah.
now, but it's still beautiful.
Yeah, it holds up beautifully. And to just see this bland, gray, ugly film, that is the biggest sin. Because I was like, you couldn't even nail the look of it right. It doesn't even look like... If you had told me it was Avatar: The Last Airbender, I would have been able to guess it on my own, watching like a good 20 minutes of it. I would have had to pick up on plot points. I would have been like, really? Went from this to this? Like, fail.
Yeah, I think Appa looked okay, and I think the sort of the ice, whatever, sphere, circle, whatever, that he was trapped in, like, that looked okay. That was like, ooh, like, if that kind of existed in real life, that's what it would look like. But yeah, everything else, you're right, is just so bland and ugly and not pleasant to look at, where the show was such the opposite. And again, maybe that's the idea of like, well, we're making it dark and gritty because everything, you know, if you want to be serious, you have to be dark and gritty, which I'm so glad that's dying out. You know, and I love dark things. I mean, look at my favorite movies. I love dark things. But just this idea that somehow equals adult. Yeah. I don't.
It's just a tool. Making something dark and gritty doesn't make it better.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, it's a tool you use to help something, but it's not, you know, that's not the
It's not a tool that's going to help Avatar. Avatar did not look dark and gritty, and guess what? It worked just fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to look like the fucking Crow.
So, yeah, I'm trying to think, not too much else. I think the only other thing that comes to mind is it was fascinating to see a film that had a fan base, because, you know, most people... when you have something that has a fan base, like whatever, the Phantom Menace when it came out, like a lot of people didn't like it, but a lot of people were in that denial because they wanted to love it so much.
There was no denial over this movie.
No, this was there's a wonderful video out there somewhere.
There was betrayal.
No, there was a wonderful video out there somewhere. I forget who did it, but it was some sort of like entertainment group that got, you know, opening night reactions from fans. And usually people are kind of half and half, or mostly kind of like, and some don't know. And every person they interviewed for Last Airbender, they hated it and talked about it, and like, they were all hating it. And finally the guy just, you know, near the end, there's a whole bunch of fans lined up, like dressed up like the characters and stuff. He finally just turns in the middle of this interview with one of the fans. He just says, "Did anybody like this film?" And everyone just in this big roar went, "No!" It was amazing. The amount of hatred that people had for it, you know, that was not just, you know, fanboys and girls. I mean, this was like really, you know, like this was a boring, bad movie, and we immediately recognized it.
There is one difference. I mean, this was a property that was already there, that the whole story was told, and you're readapting it for a movie. At least with Phantom Menace, they were getting a new story. So I think there was just as much confusion more than anything, because nobody knew what this story was going to be. Now, if you had tried to remake Star Wars and like insert things like Jar Jar Binks into it and change the whole concept of it, like, I think it would have been way more universally hated.
Although I guess he kind of did that with the special edition, but not quite to the Phantom Menace levels. You know what, the Arrow, the redoing of the Arrow with the symbols, I thought that was a good addition. how do you make that arrow not look ridiculous? I thought that was a good way around it. I thought that was actually pretty clever.
It's gotta be some painful tattooing doing that on the skull.
Right.
Hey, kid, come over here.
This is really going to hurt. So, yeah, it's still bad. Like I said, I think because I knew going in it was going to be bad, I wasn't as angry. And honestly, Last Airbender, the Avatar Last Airbender was so good, it's like not even that movie can knock me off that, just the good feeling that it gives me. So I think that's just a testament to how good a show is, that even a film that almost seems like it's actively trying to destroy it. You may take a movie,
but you'll never take a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a sense it's like just even a movie that bad and saying, no, these are your characters. It's like, no, these characters are so real, I know who they really are, and these aren't the characters, and nice try, but no, I still got my characters on DVD, and I'll watch them whenever I want, and they're phenomenal. So
fuck you, Mr. Shyamalan. We got our own show.
So that's about it, guys. If there's any other movies you want to see us talk honestly about that we've reviewed, leave them in the comments below, and we'll try our best to get to them. Take care.